I was really lucky to do a talk at Gymshark a few weeks ago. And one thing I loved about the facilities is that on every corner, on every spare piece of wall, there's a maxim or a slogan. And they're also encouraging. Like there's one that's we hold ambitions that we have no right to hold, or something like that, or ambitions that we have no right to hold. Imagine we had those same maxims postered around the council estate. Imagine how encouraging that would be to disadvantaged young people. How can we, both you and I and everyone listening to this, encourage people like us or different to us to excel and not to be ashamed of their working class upbringing, and again to use it as their competitive advantage?
Something I've noticed and I'll put my hands up, growing up in a lovely area in Brighton with people that are affluent and have every material thing that they want. The thing I've noticed with having that is that people then start to outsource their agency to something else like depression or anxiety, and actually having everything you need materially almost paralyzes you more than being in that lower socioeconomic class, because from there you're looking up at everything you want, whereas when you're in the middle class you're sort of sedated by these pleasures that you have around you. Like, why do I need more, really? Why do I need to do anything?
I'm scared in case I'm having survivorship bias here. I don't want to come on here and say my poverty was my privilege, and because I was impoverished, that's why I am here today. But there's a quote that I love, and it's, when a young mind is animated by scenes that engage the heart, traits that would otherwise lay dormant wake into life and form the character of the superhero. And my upbringing is entirely why I'm here sat with you, why I've got a podcast, why I met the Queen, why I've got the awards. And I wouldn't ever erase any of that. I realise it is a privilege. However, I need to be very cognizant that for the one of me, there's 99 other people that didn't make it. And now it's my moral responsibility to share my story and some of the insights that come along with it to help them. However, I don't want to demonise those kids that did have better upbringings than me. Gosh, if I could go back in time and erase all the traits and experiences I've had from being so eager to succeed, just to have financial stability and have more Christmas presents, I probably would go back, because some of those times were very difficult. And I need to profess that I don't want to demonise those who love fine wines and go on ski holidays and have the second home abroad, because that's not fair either. You wouldn't do that across any other diversity characteristic. You wouldn't demonise other groups like that. So I can't demonise those who aren't working class, who are middle and upper class. So look, I'm glad that you had a better upbringing than me. I hope my kids have a better upbringing than me, and that's the goal.
So would you put that lower socioeconomic background that you were born into to be the reason why you're doing everything you're doing today? Is that sort of the main drive for you?
It was the driver that drove that first engine that I spoke about, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I was offered a really great career at a very young age that gave me everything that I needed at that moment in time. And my mum passing away, it gave me that second engine. I couldn't provide her with the luxuries that I wanted to. I couldn't take her to that New York trip that I wanted to when she turned 60, because that never happened. So I had to turn inwards to those intrinsic motivations, and that was more legacy driven and more fulfillment driven, which drove me towards starting the podcast. So yes, my working class upbringing gave me a very secure career, and that career led me on to starting the podcast.
I just can't imagine losing my mum at such a young age and having no access to the motivations of what you want to do for her. And I can imagine that must have been a big speed bump in your life. Not only are you dealing with all this grief of losing someone you love, but how do you get over that loss of meaning and purpose?
Yeah, I always say two things died that day, both my North Star and my mother. And of course, my mother was the most difficult one. It was very difficult. I have no golden manual for grief. It's so individualistic. I think about her every single day. And everyone I speak to who's lost a parent says the exact same. The grief doesn't get any smaller, you just feel it less frequently. But there's moments that come up that remind you of her. Like, she would love to see me be here with you, Elliot. So I don't really have a roadmap for that. I really don't. But all I can say is that people that do have their parents with them today should gamify that mortality. Think about the things that they still have to say, the things they still have to do, the memories that they still have to create. Write them down and enact them today, tomorrow evening, this weekend. I know that my mum would have rather that I had a daily coffee with her on the couch instead of me going off early to work really hard to give her that New York surprise trip when she became 60, because newsflash, that never happened. I think people that have their parents, their brothers, their sisters, close relationships in their life should nurse them and treat them like it might be the last time that they see them.